hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I put together 15 of my best beach DIYs, all using supplies from the Dollar Tree. Lots of fun ideas, trying to think outside the box on some of these projects. I'm going to use a wood round from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to start by removing the hanger. I was wondering, if this was going to be thick enough because, these wood rounds from the Dollar Tree tend to be thin, and it was a little bit bowed, as you can tell. It's not really like laying flat. So I thought, oh, the heck with it. I'll just grab another one and we'll put like two of them together. It's going to make a thicker sign. Maybe we'll lose some of that bowing because I want this to be a really durable DIY that I can hang in my home year round. I'm going to use a combination of some of the Dollar Tree wood glue and some of the hot glue. So I do a little wood glue in the middle, and then I spread that out, and then I just do hot glue around the edges. That way, maybe it'll make it a little bit more permanent. But I try to give it pretty good coverage all around the edges because both of them were kind of bowed. And then I made sure that I lined up the little holes in the top so that I can still attach a hanger, but I'm gonna get a thicker wood round for sure. So that's a trick to use the Dollar Tree ones. Then I'm going over the whole sign with some Caribbean blue paint again and kind of doing like a sloppy coat. And then going over that with a baby wipe like we did before. I want that same kind of beachy vibe, a little bit of the wood grain showing through. And this one was a little rough, so I did have to sand it a little bit. I probably could have done that before. I didn't realize it was so rough. Okay, and we're going to use some of these wood slices from the Dollar Tree. We used these in my wind chime DIY video as driftwood. So it gave me the idea that I could make like a driftwood sea creature with this. So we're going to give it a go. I don't know at this point if it was going to work, but I thought, hey, why not? So I put like 3 next to each other, and then I start like doing 2, then I start doing 1. Basically, I want the shape of a crab. I want to do a little like driftwood crab. Now I'm going to need some of the pieces to be cut. So I tried with my miter scissors and I had some success, but it was hard. They're kind of thick for the miter scissors, honestly. And I made like a smaller piece to go in between that one. And I'm just going to I don't want it to be like such different sizes, so I thought I would fill it in with some half pieces here to make it more gradual, like the shape of the crab. And then we can use the different wood slices to make little crab legs. Crabs have 10 legs, including their like little pincher arms. So I just start like kind of laying that out to see if that's gonna all fit on the wood round, and I think it is. And I do plan to kind of segment those legs to make them look a little bit more crab-like. And so I'm just going to start by hot gluing on. I'm going to start here at the bottom. I like how the wood has like a little bit different finishes. I think it definitely gives you that driftwood vibe. Now, if you had driftwood like this, you could totally use that as well. But I love these. I'm finding all kinds of uses, and I use a different version of these wood slices today for another DIY as well. So as you can see, the bottom row was just 1, and then I had like 1.5, and then I had 2, and then I was trying to decide if I wanted to do 2 again, and then I'm like, no, I kind of wanted to be more gradual, so I'll use one of those half pieces that I have to make that more gradual. And I just keep hot gluing on up, 1 piece here at a time. I want my crab to be that like, it's almost like a football shape, for the body is what I'm wanting. And I don't want all of the smaller ones to be like in the middle on top of each other. I want it to look more random. That's why I put that one over on the left side. So again, I want it to be a little bit more gradual, so I am going to try cutting this again. Sometimes the miter scissors worked on these and sometimes not so much, but it was difficult. Kind of like cutting the little Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree with them. But it does work if you really want it to. So I am just going to cut a few more pieces here just to get me that perfect shape I'm looking for. I'm thinking that would be good. And I just kind of keep problem solving one piece at a time. Putting it together a little bit like a puzzle. And you guys know I usually craft with that driftwood from the not the Dollar Tree, Target. And you could totally do that with this too, but I totally wanted to see if I could make something cool with these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree. So look out for these. Even one of my smaller stores had these in stock in the crafter square. So I'm still cutting pieces, trying to make it a little bit more gradual than my like initial setup was there, until I'm happy with it. And then I just keep gluing these on. This was, I think, my son's favorite. I don't know, he had a lot of favorites today because we're going to do a lot of sea creatures, but I think he said this one was his favorite. So I had 2 half pieces left over, and then I was like, yes, I need to segment the legs, so I need to start cutting these down, but I'm tired of using the miter scissors, so I actually did go use my saw, just because I'm going to have to cut so many here. But there, I'm just going to cut them in half and make little segmented legs. I think that's going to make it look way more crab-like than if they were just straight. So I just go and I cut some more in half. So the crab has like 3 legs kind of pointing back usually, and then one set forward, and then another set here at the front that has like little pincers, right? So I'm going to go cut some more down. I'm trying to figure out how many I need. I thought if I put 2 together, you could kind of get that like crab pincer look, like that. And then I thought for eyes, we could use some of those little wood beads from the Dollar Tree. I got some of these that are like kind of stained brown. And if you set them up like that, I think they make perfect little crab eyes. Now, I wasn't too happy with like the pincer arms. I thought they needed to be longer. So I decided to go in with the full wood slice for those. And I think that looks even better. Looks like a crab, right? And then I had another half piece, so I might as well use that there at the bottom to kind of finish off the bottom of that crab shape. He's so cute. At first, I didn't think I could pull it off. I didn't think it was really going to look like a crab. And my son's like, well, what else would it be? It's definitely a crab, right? Oh my goodness. And so I'm going to go ahead and just start hot gluing these one at a time. Your girl is beat. I am so tired. Today I was replacing all of the screens in my Florida room, and it was so hot outside, and they needed to be replaced for a while since the hurricane in the fall. And they've been driving me crazy, and so now it's wonderful out there. It's mosquito free. Yay! And it's so nice out there this time of year, and we are expecting a house full of company here in a couple of weeks, so I definitely want to get that room ready. My son's graduating from high school, so we have all kinds of family visiting from the Midwest. We'll have a house full of people. Okay, so we got them all glued down. I'm going to use some of that string that we used from the shelves because I had that left over. That's going to make a perfect little white hanger. You could always use twine or whatever you've got. And again, I just hot glue the ends to make them easier to feed through the holes, especially here that I have to go through 2 signs. I do plan on framing this out, but I definitely need to get the hanger on there first. And sometimes if you still have trouble getting it through there, one of those little Cricut weeders can do the trick to kind of like force it through there if you need. And this one was a little bit easier. Now I'm just going to pull them through and tie them off exactly how long I want them. And then we'll go in and kind of finish off the edges. I always like the wood rounds, but sometimes I like them to have like more of a finished edge. And so for that, I want something else coastal, right? He's so cute. I love this crab. So I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree white nautical rope. And this is the thick kind, the 6 foot, I think. And we are just going to wrap that all around the edges of our sign. I think it's going to be the perfect like final beachy touch to this one. And I think this is going to look great hanging in my home. I have like coastal everywhere, and I know you guys are really digging the coastal DIYs. And I'm like looking at everything I made, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have enough walls in my house. I'm going to have to get generous. I donate. You guys always ask what I do with all of my DIYs, and I do donate my DIYs that I don't have room for because I just don't. I do have a little bit of seasonal storage from year to year, but my house is just not large enough to store it all because I have made like over 300 videos here on YouTube. So I have made a lot of DIYs and I love every minute of it. So I'm just doing a bead of hot glue all the way around and securing that white rope. Kind of started at the bottom just so the seam would be down there. And you can kind of like, work with that, kind of glue those little fibers together, let that cool off, and then you can kind of like shape it a little bit to hide the seam a little bit, make it not so obvious. But what do you guys think about my little driftwood crab? I think it's so fun. And I love the beachy blue background. I think that really brings him out. And this is how he turned out. I think my favorite part about him is like his little crab eyes like peeking out. I think that's so cute. And it's another DIY with these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree. They seem to go really fast at my store. I know that some of you guys have had trouble finding them too. Be sure to grab them when you see them is my advice. I wish they had them online. I did check and they don't. We're going to use some of these bikini tops they have in the summer section at Dollar Tree right now, and a Dollar Tree sign and some Dollar Tree burlap to make a really fun, neutral, like coastal sign. I think this is going to look really good in my bedroom. I don't have a lot of blues in there. I have more like greens and pink tropical colors. And so I like to use more neutral in there, but I definitely like it to still be coastal. So this is kind of the medium wood one sign from the Dollar Tree. And I just mixed a little ivory acrylic paint with some antique wax by Waverly. It's going to give me the perfect like driftwood color. And then just using a chunky brush from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to distress. I'm mainly concentrating on the 2 outside boards because those are the ones that you're going to be able to see. And I kind of wanted to do a shell display and make it look like I have like 3 like giant shells displayed. And I thought this would be the perfect background. I think they look good, like hanging vertically like that. So I've got that distressed nicely. I am going to replace the hanger that came on the sign just with some Dollar Tree twine because I like to feed them from the back, not them on the front. I just find that they always look nicer hanging on your wall. And this is a thin sign from the Dollar Tree, but I was glad to see that it wasn't bowed at all. So it's going to hang nice and flat. So I'm just going to tie both of those off in the front. And then I also wanted to add a touch of burlap to it. And Dollar Tree has these burlap rolls right now. Every time I see these, I pick them up. I think I probably have a burlap problem because I think I have too many. So no more burlap rolls for me. I think I'm good. So it kind of covers the middle section completely. I'm just going to use a little hot glue here at the top of the sign to get us started with that. And then I don't really want hot glue to be displayed, coming through the burlap. So I'm just going to Mod Podge that down just to make it look a little bit nicer in the final project. So I hot glue the top just to make it a little bit stronger up there. And then I just do Mod Podge on the center section of the sign and just smooth that out. I also reinforce the bottom with a little bit of hot glue as well before I trim off the length. So I'm just going to hot glue that down just to make it a little bit more secure there. And this is going to be a great background for those shells. And a lot of people see like those little plastic shell bras at the Dollar Tree, and they don't think about crafting with them, but they actually have great texture, and I think they're going to work out really well for this. So the background is ready to go. Now we just need to DIY the shells. Now they come, 2 in a package because they're like a little bikini top. And so I'm just going to need a total of 3 of those, so 1.5 packages. They already have the strings strung through them. I don't need any of that. The only issue with that is it's going to leave you with some holes that they drilled in the shells. So that is kind of the first thing you kind of need to deal with when you're DIYing with these. I chose to tape on the underside to give me something to spackle to. Otherwise, the spackle is just going to go straight through the hole. And I happen to have some like white duct tape. I think this is from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure, but you can kind of use whatever you have. You could probably even use masking tape for this. The great thing about the white duct tape is it kind of even matched in with the white shells, right? So I'm just tearing down little pieces of the duct tape and covering up all of the holes. There's a total of 3 holes in each one. And now when I flip them over, I kind of have a back behind the hole, so I have something that I can use to spackle that in. Now, they're cut a little jagged. I just kind of try to smooth mine out a little bit, and then it just takes a very tiny amount of Dollar Tree spackle to fill up those holes. And it doesn't completely hide them, but it does a good enough job that you can craft with them for sure. And they're white plastic, so they look kind of cheap, but we're going to paint them and make them look a little bit more high-end. And they do have a great texture already, so it's really easy to do. I'm going to use that same color that we mixed up for the driftwood, the Antique Wax by Waverly mixed together with ivory. And I'm just going to distress all over, using that brush to kind of get in all that great texture on the shells. They are textured vertically and like horizontally, so there's just a really good design on there. And just kind of go all over with those. I don't want them to be super dark, but I do want them to have the detail. So then I go back with a baby wipe and kind of wipe off all of the excess, leaving a lot of that like driftwood color like down in the seams. And if I really wanted them to look distressed, I would use Antique Wax by Waverly, but I want mine to be kind of bright. So then I go in with ivory. So it's kind of like white, that tan color and the ivory all mixed together. It's going to make them look a little bit more realistic. I thought maybe I might need to go over them with some matte Mod Podge, but the acrylic paint did a great job of taking down the shininess of the plastic and kind of making them look more real. So that's our 3 shells. We're going to display them all together on this sign. This was so easy to put together and it just turned out so cute. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of measure my sign, kind of find out where the middle of my sign is so I can try to line these up properly. And these are really easy to connect just because they're just plastic. So I just do a thin bead of hot glue around most of the edges and then quickly sit them on there, centering that to the little burlap stripe and the board. I'm kind of pushing it down to make sure it gets good contact so it can dry well. And then we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other 2. I thought about adding like a little bit of color to this with like a blue bow or something like that. But then I remembered I did kind of want more neutral colors with this. So we're just going to go with these like browns and ivory colors. This is going to look great in my bedroom. And these vertical signs are great because you can even fit them on really skinny walls. So I kind of measured out there about where I wanted my second one. And then we're going to do the same thing with my third one. Now, I didn't really measure and I thought I could kind of eyeball where I put this one on. And so I put it on about here and I was gluing it down when I was like, I think that's closer to the shell above it than the spacing between the other 2. So I'm like, it's, just got a little bit of hot glue on there. So I think I can still fix it. And it was about like a 1/2 inch. So I just popped it off real quick. And really, it didn't leave any damage. I was glad because I kind of just want to move it down a little bit. I just use my heat gun to get the hot glue wet. And then we're just going to try again, moving it down a little bit this time. And I'm glad I did because the uneven spacing on that would drive me crazy. So another bead of hot glue, trying not to burn myself. And that looks way better. And that's just a quick, easy, like giant seashell display, just using a couple of items from the Dollar Tree. I think it looks really coastal and cool. I thought about using a starfish for the center one, but I only had a smaller one or a larger one. So I decided to do shells all the way down. And I'm kind of glad I did because I think it looks really cool. And let me show you how this DIY turned out. This is how it looks hanging in my entryway. I'm glad I decided to distress the board behind it. I like that kind of driftwood feel. And if you didn't have a brown sign that you wanted to use like that, you could totally cover the entire back of the board with burlap, and that would look really cute as well.
And these plastic shells are really easy to find at Dollar Tree. They're not short living. They're in with like the regular summer section, so you should be able to find them. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps.
Okay, this DIY is really easy and fun. We're going to use one of these round signs from the Dollar Tree. Aren't they adorable? And one of their new tablecloths. They have these in the summer section at my Dollar Trees, in with like all of the plastic summer dinnerware tablecloths and stuff like that. And I saw that it had sea turtles on it. So I said, ooh, I bet I can make something out of it. Now, it's made out of plastic, but it also has like a light flannel backing, but it is still really thin because it is from the Dollar Tree. I was kind of scared that using heat on it was going to be a problem, but actually I had no problem working with this whatsoever. And this little turtle right here is going to be the perfect size to fit on this little sign. So this is an idea for a coastal beach DIY. If you were out of your shore living items, or you were not fast enough to snag any, or if your Dollar Tree just did not want you to have any, I'm going to simply cut this out first, and then we can cut out our little sea turtle. Now, I would almost say that the sea turtle was too easy to cut out because it was so thin. So be careful with that. Now, I want to prepare our sign. So I'm going to mix together ivory and Caribbean blue to get a nice, soft, light blue. I want this to look like the little sea turtle is swimming in the ocean. So I go all over the inside, right up against the edges of the inside of the frame, and cover all of the back of it. Now, it has like the wood slats, and so I did go back with a brush and kind of get the paint in between them, because of course it's going to kind of drip back there, and I think it would look better if it was all just painted blue. So a nice coat of that all over. Then I'm going to use straight Caribbean blue, which is without the ivory added, to kind of give me a different shade of blue, and a makeup sponge. And we're just going to simply paint the frame another color of ocean blue. And we're going to do a couple techniques to that to kind of make it look kind of like an underwater, kind of abstract underwater scene for our little sea turtle. But I want to make sure that most of like the wood is covered and none of that is really shining through. Now, like, I kind of wanted to do like little variations of white, kind of like wave them all around like that. And then I'll go back with a baby wipe and kind of blend that in. I do go back and add some like of the darker like Caribbean blue to it later to kind of make it look splotchy, because when you see like an underwater scene, usually it's not like pool water blue, right? There's like different variations in it as well. Now, I told you that the sea turtle was too easy to cut out. The reason I said that is because it is paper thin. So take it slow when you're cutting it out, because you will definitely cut off a part of the sea turtle and then you'll be sad. But think about how big that tablecloth is and how many DIYs I can make with it. It had sea turtles and coral all over it, and I can't wait to DIY with it. I'm glad I picked it up. I was a little scared of the plastic at first, but it was way sturdier than expected. Now, the back fins had like a slight outline of yellow on them. I leave it on at first because I wasn't sure if that would kind of add to like the 3D effect of it. But once I got it all cut out, I wasn't a big fan of it. So I kind of went back and trimmed that up a little bit, kind of cut the yellow parts off. I thought it might be a little bit distracting. And there's our little sea turtle. Isn't he just the perfect size for this little sign? And the colors on him are so pretty. So we're going to simply, Mod Podge this on with some matte Mod Podge. You guys know I love some Mod Podge. I'm going to do a thin coat because it's definitely a thin thing that we're attaching. And I think that flannel backing on the back kind of will help give me something to glue this plastic to and keep it nice and smooth. So I just kind of push the sea turtle down into the Mod Podge. And then we're going to Mod Podge over the top of him as well. Trying to be careful, make sure all of the little sea turtle flippers are glued down and nice and secure. And going over the rest of the sign too, because I don't want to change like the glossiness finish. I want it to be uniform all the way across. Now, once I dried this, I kind of thought about going in and kind of cutting it like the boards are on there, if you know what I mean, with like an X-Acto knife. But since this was so thin, I thought I could probably really mess the whole project up. So I just sealed it with another coat of Mod Podge and gave it a good dry. He's looking really cute. Now, sometimes I like these hangers, sometimes I don't. For this one, I just want it to be a simple round sign. So I just take the wood bead hanger off. And then I always save those little sawtooth hangers from the Dollar Tree canvases because I love to reuse them. And this is no different. I'm just going to use a hammer to hammer that into the back to make a simple hanger. He's looking pretty cute so far, isn't he? I am digging him because, I love sea turtles. I'm going to use that Posca white paint pen again, and we're going to dry some really small little bubbles, kind of like coming up out of the water from his mouth. Just to add, just a kind of a fun detail to the sign. And then using a stencil dauber and some of that Caribbean blue, we're going to make some blue spots in the water. And then kind of go back and kind of blend that in with a baby wipe. Because again, I want it to look underwater and the water is not going to be like all different, one color of blue. And I think that looks really cute. I think he's really sweet. What do you guys think about our little sea turtle DIY using a sign from the Dollar Tree and a Dollar Tree tablecloth? Look how cute he is. The colors in his shell look so realistic. I love it. And I like the fact that we kind of made it look like he was swimming in the ocean as well.
And I was super excited to see that they did bring the sea turtle line back this year with the summer items, the tablecloths, and like they have plasticware too. That's really cute. Okay, let's DIY some beach houses.
Next DIY is we're going to try to make some beach houses. My next 2 DIYs, I guess. I wanted to kind of compare the difference between these newer houses they have at the Dollar Tree and the older kind. So the newer ones are thinner. The wood is cleaner than these. These are the chunky ones that they've always had like at the Crafter Square. They're real thick. They're just like wood, right? Now, mine had paint or something on the back of it. So I'm just going to go in with ivory and do like the back and the sides of both of our houses just to clean that up. But, totally optional. These are going to be pieces that like sit around my house. These would also be great for a tier tray. So I kind of wanted them to have a finished back anyway. So that's fine. And then we're going to stain the other side. I found these great like beach stencils at Dollar Tree. They don't say Crafter Square, but they say Crafter Square. They don't say Shore Living, but my store had them with the Shore Living stuff, but I have also found them in the Crafter Square as well. But they have some cute beach images on them besides the letters. So I'm going to use a little Goo Gone because this new one had a tag on it. And these were completely different to DIY. So I'll kind of show you the difference. I want to stain them like different colors of blue to make little beach houses. So I used Caribbean blue on this one, follow that up with a baby white, and it stained beautifully. I added some turquoise to that color so we could have another like custom color of blue that would be complementary, and went over this one. Now this one, the like thicker one from the Crafter Square, did not stain great. It stained, didn't stain great. It's got like a rough, bumpy texture that's almost like, I don't know if you can see that, but almost like a fabric texture on it. I don't know why. It's kind of odd, but we're going to make it work. Now, this is the stencil I was talking about. It's lettering, but at the bottom of it are great little beach shapes. So I thought we would use this to make some super easy little beach houses. Now, on my smaller one, I thought I would use the seahorse because it's so cute and it's small. So I think that's going to look really good on this smaller house. I'm going to use some of these little stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree and just some white acrylic, simply holding that on there and kind of pouncing all over. I was really impressed with these stencils, probably some of the best stencils from the Dollar Tree that I've ever tried because it's a really nice thick material. And I just go over that with a baby wipe and look how easily that stencil cleaned up so that I can reuse it. Love it. And the little seahorse turned out cute too. Now for the larger sign, I thought we would do the seashell at the top of this one. Now make sure you line yours up properly. I think I got mine a little bit crooked, but I use that same little stencil pouncer and go all over with some white acrylic on that. It's got lots of like the little stripes of the shell. So make sure you don't go side to side. You just want to go up and down. And then lettering time. I like to use this Posca white paint pen. I forgot to add this to my shop, so I just added these to my Amazon shop. I love them. It's a nice fine tip white paint pen. Works great for the skinny font that I love in my DIYs. So this one we're just going to say relax, and I'm going to kind of touch up my shell too to make it look like it's centered, right? And then I'm going to go over it with another coat to make sure that that white is going to stick out from that blue color behind it. And just kind of hand paint those. I think I'm getting pretty good at the skinny Rae Dunn font. I used to kind of have a Rae Dunn addiction. Now I try to stay out of TJ Maxx and Marshalls. It's way easier on my pocketbook because I can just make my own Rae Dunn stuff, right? So the seahorse one, I just wrote sand on, same white paint pen, same kind of font. Now I wanted to do like a driftwood roof. And I usually use like these smaller pieces from Target, the driftwood filler. They weren't quite long enough to do a roof. And so I did have some driftwood. I ordered this on Amazon. I have this linked in my shop below as well. And those two pieces look great for a roof for our larger house, like relax. Putting the two together like that, I think those two are going to be perfect. So all you got to do is hot glue that on the top of your house and you're going to have a fun little driftwood house to your little beach house. I was going to leave them without a roof at first. I'm so glad that I came up with this idea because it really made them look beachy. So I just hot glue each one of those to the top. They're perfect. And then, you know, I was trying to decide what to do with my smaller one. I guess you could use that driftwood filler from the Dollar Tree and kind of piece it together if you wanted to. I actually had real driftwood from the beach too. So I had a couple pieces that are just about the right size, kind of gnarly. I found one, and then it was just a matter of finding one for the other side. And I think those look even cooler because it's like real driftwood, so they're real messed up and gnarly. And I just hot glue those on. So, you know, they're kind of the same. They're kind of different. The two little beach houses we made with these supplies from the Dollar Tree. I liked the size, the small one, but I liked working with the newer ones, the thinner, more polished wood. I think it stained better, but this is how they turned out. I've also got a wider house too that's a little bit shorter. They have so many things to choose from now. So this is the larger one. You can see how that blue stain looks really cool. There was kind of natural, I think, yellow already in that. It kind of still kind of shines through, but I kind of like that. And we stenciled the little seashell on the front. And then here is the smaller one. Now you can see that texture that I was talking about. And you can really see on the seahorse. See that texture? It must be how they cut these or process them. But I kind of like it. And I really love the driftwood roof on top. It looks like there was even a couple little pieces of sand still on it. So here is our little relax house and our sand house. Okay, next DIY. We are going to make some more rope art. This time we're going to use a Dollar Tree sign. It is, kind of a lightweight sign, but it is a sign that will stand up on its side. And it had like a white board pattern on it. And so, you know what? I'm going to kind of go with that. The only thing that kind of got in the way is it has like that little cardboard like bump out thing that they like to do on these Dollar Tree signs. So I'm just using my heat gun and spatula and trying to lift that off with as little damage as possible. You never know. Sometimes it's glued on a little tighter in some places, and I did have that problem up here at the top. And to get it off, I did kind of chew it up a little bit. I was afraid that that was going to cause problems in my final project, and so I did use some Dollar Tree spackle in my finger just to kind of like try to fill that in a little bit. I'm going to use like the existing white wood pattern around the edges, but I'm going to do something different to cover this section, but you will be able to see the surface. And so I did have to spackle it a couple of times. Now, if that would have came off a little cleaner, maybe if I would have got it wet, I could have got that off a little cleaner. Now we're going to freehand with a Sharpie a nautilus shell. So basically it is a spiral. So at first my spiral is smaller and then larger and then all the way up and then comes back down. Now my shape was square and I kind of made mine kind of square. I didn't really mean to. You might want to freehand that with a pencil first because I kind of went in overconfident with a Sharpie. We're going to try to make it look more round and less square. I guess naturally I just kind of did that. But I'm going to mask all of that blue area that had the writing on it with just some white acrylic paint. Since I used Sharpie underneath the acrylic paint, I should still be able to see that design even after a couple of coats, but I did want to mask all of that. Now I liked the white board thing that was going on this one. If you don't have an existing sign like that, you can always do whatever you want for your back sign, but I kind of want mine to be ivory looking board, so we're just going to work with that. So I drew that back on with the Sharpie. I could see through it, and then I'm going to use ivory acrylic and a chunky brush from Dollar Tree. Follow that up with a paper towel because it's kind of glossy. You don't want to take all your paint off. And I'm just distressing the boards to give them an ivory color, kind of make them more my color scheme, and kind of make it look less like printed paper from the Dollar Tree. So I did that on all four sides. It's a very lightweight sign, but we're really not going to be adding a lot of weight to this, so it shouldn't have any problems standing up. I am going to go in and kind of sketch the little nautilus shell again. That way when I go to paint it, I will be able to know where the sides are. For the color, we're going to use Cloudless by Apple Barrel Acrylic from Walmart. And sorry about that, my camera died. But basically all I did was one coat all along the inside of the shell. I did use a smaller brush to kind of try to stay in lines. And then I let that dry and kind of went over it with one more coat just to make sure that I had good coverage. And see, even with that blue paint, you can still kind of see that spiral pattern through. I did want to use my small brush and kind of go around all the edges, kind of cover up my Sharpie a little bit. We will be covering that with rope, but in case there's any areas that might be kind of trying to peek out, I don't want you to be able to see the Sharpie in the final project. So just cleaning up the outside borders of this. And now we're going to kind of do the nautilus design here where it kind of has stripes. And they don't go all the way up. They kind of start right about here. And I'm going to kind of arch mine. I'm just using a white paint pen and working my way to the center, kind of making my sections a little bit smaller as I get into the smaller parts of the shell. And I do that all the way to the center. Trying to show you exactly what that looks like. And now we can start framing it out. This is a jute cord that I get at Walmart. This is the thicker one that I wish they would carry at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to show you how I do it. I cut off a long piece and I folded it in half. I'm going to start in the middle of my nautilus shell and loop the end like that and glue that down to the very inside of the shell. And then we're going to continue that 2-ply of jute cord all the way up, and you'll see in a minute why I have 2 and not just 1. So just kind of working one section at a time. I am trying to keep the 2 flat, kind of like side by side. And I can see that line that we drew on with the Sharpie, and I'm just using that for reference to glue this on. Now, you may have guessed, but the reason that we did 2 strings is because we're going to separate up here once we get to the edge of our shell. So right about here is where we're going to start separating. So I'm going to go ahead and then have that one go down and the other one can go up. And like I said, there's so many different like sea creatures that you can do with rope art. They're really fun to do, and I really encourage you to try some. We have several different ones today, but I recommend like looking it up like on Pinterest and Etsy and stuff like that. You would be surprised how many ideas there are for this, and it's so cute. Whenever you paint the background of them before you outline them with rope, it just really makes them pop, and they turn out so pretty. So I'm going all the way around with that piece, and I'm going to snip that piece off. And then I'm going to have the other piece come up and just to the point. I thought if they met here at the point, that would be a good place for them to meet up. And just gluing that piece down. Now that jute cord from Walmart does get a little bit rough too. So I did try burning it before I put it on there. But you can always burn it after you attach it too if you need to clean up any more fuzzies. I also like to try to clean up like any hot glue or anything like that with my heat gun. So I think that looks pretty good. One thing that I did notice is that my stripes were a little faint, so I thought we could kind of make those look a little bit better by doing a second coat of white paint pen. This is my Posca white paint pen. I love it because you can paint on anything with this. People use these, I think, for like rock painting and stuff like that. I think I finished it off today, though. I'm going to have to make sure to order one. I always have that linked in my Amazon shop below. It's one of my favorite white markers. And I use white paint markers all the time. So what do you guys think about our little nautilus? I think he turned out so cute. I love the colors. And I love that it's kind of a shelf sitter. So it does have the hanger on the back. If I wanted to hang it on the wall, I could. Or I can just kind of stand it up like this. And I love how it turned out.
And you could get really creative with this. You could form like any kind of a shell like this or a sea creature. I really love rope art. I think it's a really fun way to craft coastal DIYs. Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick second out of today's video and let you know about our Facebook group. I always have it linked in the description below. We'd love to see you over there. You can show us what you've been working on and get some great ideas. And I also am really active on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. My handle on everything is Crafty Beach on YouTube, and I hope to see you over there.
The next DIY, I'm going to use a Dollar Tree cutting board and a Dollar Tree beach canvas. I thought I could do a fun beach DIY for my kitchen. Of course, my kitchen is beach themed too, right? And so I picked up one of these cutting boards. It's kind of thin, but I thought we could make it look really cool, like a hand-painted cutting board using a Dollar Tree canvas. I really liked this image of the two beach chairs at the beach. Now, the cutting board's a little wider than the canvas, so I'm going to have to be careful when I cut this off and actually cut it from the back because I kind of need the sides on there to make it wide enough to cover my entire cutting board. So I'm just using a razor blade and just cutting on the outside of my staples. The only tricky parts are the corners where it's kind of overlapped. And if you don't want to mess with the staples, which I don't, you kind of have to go through it a couple times to get the corners, but it is free. Now, the only thing I was worried about is the canvas had like a crease there on the sides, and I wasn't so sure that that was going to flatten out. So I decided to give my canvas a quick iron first to kind of flatten that out before I attach it to my cutting board. And I love like these little cutting boards that they have at the Dollar Tree now. It's a really nice size and so easy to DIY. So I'm just using my Cricut Easy Press and just smoothing that out, canvas down. It ironed great. Nice and flat, and now we can cut it down to size to attach it to our cutting board. I thought it would be easier to cut it now rather than later because it is a thick canvas. So I just kind of sit my cutting board on there, and as you can see, it's going to cover all of it except for the handle. And that's okay because I had a plan to decorate the handle of the cutting board anyway. And so I just drew that on the back with just an ink pen, the size, and I'm just cutting straight on that line all the way around. These canvases from the Dollar Tree are very easy to cut out. Once I got this on here, I realized how similar this is to like the shape of a Christmas ornament. And then it gave me some ideas for Christmas that I'm definitely going to have to pick up some more of these because I think they'd make great Christmas ornament DIYs, like giant ornaments. So I go over with a rather thick layer of Mod Podge and then lay my Dollar Tree canvas right on there, lining up the sides. And I did a pretty good job of cutting that out. Just smoothing it down with a dry paper towel to make sure it's all glued down. Now for the top of it, I thought it would look really beachy and fun to wrap it in twine. So I'm going to use Dollar Tree twine for that part. And I just start by hot gluing a little piece to the back to get me started. And then I decided that I probably should put a hanger on there now as well while I can still get to it. So I just looped some more of that twine through, just knotting it off. Because once I wrap this all the way in there, it's going to kind of trap that hanger in there. So I do a little bit of hot glue on the back just to kind of give me a little bit of grip when I'm wrapping this around. I will also have to use hot glue too when I get down towards the tip where it kind of wants to fall off when I'm wrapping it. But for right now, it kind of just stays in place right where I need it. I just keep wrapping it until you can't see any more of that raw wood underneath. And this is where it gets a little tricky here at the end. I use hot glue, kind of have to let those pieces dry. Otherwise, they're going to kind of slip off like that. And then I decided to also add some hot glue to the back to kind of stabilize it a little bit. So it's pretty easy up until this point. Otherwise, you kind of might need to hot glue each row, kind of like this, to get good coverage. And I had just enough twine to get this done. So everything looks pretty good at this point. Maybe one more row at the top, and then I can just secure this to the back. And it's looking really cute like this. I wanted to seal mine to make sure it was extra durable and take away some of that sheen from the canvas. I want this to look like a hand-painted cutting board. And so I go over it with another coat of matte Mod Podge, kind of tone it down a little bit, dry that. I decided it still had a little bit too much texture and sheen from what I wanted, so I do go over it with a second coat of matte Mod Podge as well. And then you know your girl's going to distress it. I'm going to use a little bit of ivory, and this is going to be a very light distress because, again, I do want it to look hand-painted, but I do still want that coastal farmhouse vibe, so a very light dry brush, just working in one direction with that ivory. And then follow that up with a baby wipe because, again, I didn't want it to be too heavily distressed. And it really does look like a hand-painted cutting board. I think it's really cute, and it's going to look really cute displayed in my kitchen, like hanging underneath my kitchen cabinets. And this is how it turned out. You can see how that distressing kind of added a little bit to it. And what a fun beach scene. I want to be there right now.
And it's another way to use those Dollar Tree canvases. I love to find ways to repurpose those. Now for this DIY, I'm using the seahorse from last year, and I'm actually going to put the pattern of the seahorse on there with a hot glue gun. So this year it would be even easier because you could buy the wood ones they have this year that have the wood exoskeleton, but this is how I used the flat seahorse.
We're going to use one of these Dollar Tree boards. I wanted a wood one, but you know, with Dollar Tree, you kind of go with what you can find, and I could only find the black one. So we're going to kind of make it look wood. I'm going to mix Antique Wax by Waverly with some ivory paint. It gives you the perfect color for driftwood. And then we are just going to distress this sign all over. This is going to be like the background sign for our realistic seahorse. And we're also going to use some of that shore living greenery that I showed you guys. I found a fresh case at my Dollar Tree the other day. It was so exciting. One of my viewers that lives locally was asking me if the stores had put any out. And I'm like, well, this one, of course, but I bought all the cute ones because I was so excited because I do not think I picked up enough of those when I first saw them. They went fast. And then I just used straight Antique Wax by Waverly and distress over the top of that. Then I just blend it all with a baby wipe, and it gives me like a really fun, you know, distressed driftwood look. Okay, so here is our little seahorse. This is from the Shore Living line. You could always do this with the one with the paper on it. You would have to clean that up a little bit. I love the plain wood. Whenever I can get the plain wood ones, that is always going to be my preference. So we're going to do the back just so I don't have to deal with the design that was on there. Just remove the tag, and I just want to stain this. So I'm going all over with a light coat of Caribbean blue. Just a beautiful color. And then I wipe off all the excess with a baby wipe, and it leaves me with a light blue stain where you can still kind of see the wood grain through there. Now this was the tough part. So I need a fine tip. So I am using my like fine tip, like Surebonder, hot glue gun, and I am just drawing a line. I filled in the hole at the top, and I'm just going down alongside the body, kind of ignoring the fin, all the way to the tip. Because the request was for a realistic seahorse, and I was like, oh man, they're so detailed. My son takes care of these. He feeds these at the local aquarium, and I love seahorses. They're so fun. So I do another line straight down the middle, and then another line on the front of the seahorse, kind of ignoring the head right now because the head has a different design. So pretty easy, just 3 lines down, just kind of follow the contour. And then you need to start doing like the straight lines across. So I'm just kind of estimating, and just the only tricky part is when you're kind of going over the bump that's already there and just kind of pulling that straight across from one side to the other. They have like this like kind of like bony, kind of like almost like an exoskeleton skin. It's really strange. And then I'm just going to keep going all the way around the tail, just going around. And as you can see for that back fin there, I did like kind of make it look like a fin by adding some more stripes there. Now for the head, I was kind of looking at a seahorse. They kind of have like a little wavy fin right here. Don't know what that's called. So I just draw that on, and some lines and a dot for an eye. And then kind of some more lines here on their head. And then I thought maybe just like a partial outline for its head with some more hot glue. Now, if you get any stringing from your hot glue, a heat gun works great to get rid of any of the strings, because I am going to paint and distress this more. And if I don't do that now, then you'll be able to see those strings when I paint it. But this is the detail. So what do you guys think? Does it look realistic? I think it looks pretty good. What do you think? My son, who is the seahorse expert, approved, so I think I did okay. Now I am going to kind of distress that hot glue now that it's setting up. And I use a makeup sponge and just some ivory acrylic, and I'm lightly dragging that over the hot glue that we added to that to bring out all that beautiful detail that we put on there, because otherwise it's just going to be clear. I guess, you know, they have like colored hot glues. I guess you could always use like a white hot glue as well. Maybe I need to get some of those. And I just drag it all over all the detail. If I get some on the blue starfish, that's fine. I could always go back here with a baby wipe and kind of wipe it off if I thought I went a little too heavy on the distressing. But, you know, I love a good ivory distressing, so a little bit of that is going to totally be my style. So I've got the detailed seahorse, and it's colorful, it's blue, so hopefully this will be what they were looking for. And I just kind of touch it up here and there. I find that I didn't want to wipe off too much of the white on the detailing. And if I did, I just kind of go back with that makeup sponge and just tap it lightly, because I think that really helps bring out the detail on that. So there he is. I do add a little bit more distressing to him in a minute, but we're going to go ahead and start putting this together. Now, the sign is way longer than my little seahorse, but that's okay. We're going to fill it all in. So I'm going to use some twine from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to try stringing that from the back, tie a knot in front. I always like to do my hangers from Dollar Tree like that. I find they hang better. And do the same thing on the other side. Now we can start putting this together. The driftwood, the faux driftwood, I think turned out great. And so I'm just going to hot glue our little seahorse on. So cute. Now, if you can't find any of the seahorses, or you didn't pick any up when they had them in your store, I guess you could always kind of draw a silhouette of a seahorse on the existing sign. You could always print one out if you needed, like, because it is a weird shape, and kind of draw that on. You could probably get kind of the same effect. Now, this is the Shore Living greenery that I was so excited to find. These are the ones with the ivory seahorses, and I love that. I'm not a big fan of the color of the greenery in that one, but I thought it would work well for this project. The kind of browns and greens, right? But I took it all apart so I could put it all exactly where I want it and arrange it like that. So I have all this room down here to decorate. I kind of want to make it look like a habitat for a seahorse, and the greenery is perfect. So I just hot glue these down. I'm just kind of scattering them out. Some of them are a little bit too long, but I can always go back and trim those up later. And I pretty much use all of it from those two Shore Living picks. I can't believe I found a fresh box of those. That's why you kind of have to keep checking. I know Shore Living is sold out everywhere, but you never know when they forgot to put a box out, right? So the seahorse has wire wrapped around its tail already. So I'm just going to use that, twist it around some of that greenery, and he can be attached to the seaweed just like they are in real life. They are not great swimmers. That is why they hold on to seaweed like that with their tails. So we'll do one over here. He's looking super cute. And here is the other one. And I'll just wire that around some of that greenery too. And I'll go back and kind of cover up all the hot glue and mess down here at the bottom. But I want to use lots of hot glue here to make sure that it's secure. So I go over it with a bunch of hot glue first. And then I'm using some of that thicker twine from Walmart. And we're just going to simply wrap this. It's going to give that wrapped like jute detail here at the bottom, but it's also going to serve the purpose of holding these all down. The seahorse kind of wanted to stick out a little bit, so I did kind of glue them down the best that I could, but most of the greenery kind of stood on its own. And then I just keep wrapping this around, kind of going through the hot glue. That way it will kind of stabilize all of that, but it's also going to look decorative down there as well. Just kind of pushing that into the hot glue until I have pretty good coverage, and then gluing that to the back and trimming off the excess. And I think that was a great way to fill up the bottom of this sign. Definitely added to the seahorse vibe, and they're very realistic little seahorses. I love these. Good job, Dollar Tree. Now, why did you not send your stores more of the shore living items? Because there's so many of my crafty beach viewers that can't find it. And it seems like, their online sold out just as fast as their stores. But this is how it turned out. This is it with it just blue and white. Now, the only thing I thought maybe the seahorse still needed was maybe a little brown, because I have kind of brown in everything else. So I just used some antique wax by Waverly and a chunky brush, and we're going to do a very light distress all over. Just to kind of add a little bit of age, a little bit of character to it, kind of make it match everything else. And now I think it's just about perfect.
So again, with the one this year that already has like the wood slat on there, you could avoid the hot glue, but it is definitely an option to give more texture to a DIY project like this.
And I think it turned out really fun. Hey guys, now stick around later in the video. You guys have been asking to see my coastal beach themed Florida room, and I am going to give you a virtual tour. Okay, this DIY, I wanted to try to see if I could use these new burlap canvases from the Dollar Tree and see if I could make a fun like coastal beach lantern. So I picked up 4. This is the 5x7 of the burlap canvases. I think they're so coastal and cute, but I thought since you could see through the burlap, it might make a decent lantern. So let's give it a go. I want 4 of them. I'm just going to have to kind of put them together like that, where one side will be slightly wider because it's going to have that side on there. But I kind of disguise that in the end and make that look a little bit more finished. I was thinking whether hot glue was going to be enough to hold this or if I needed to use some nails. And I decided to try to just go with it with some hot glue, and it actually turned out pretty good. You are going to have to hold it though, like I'm holding it, pushing it down to make sure everything's square and everything's connected. Try to give me a good 90-degree angle there. Once I got the first one on, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side the same way. Try not to use too much hot glue because I don't want any to seep out. And the trick on this one was just pushing it down and having a little bit of patience. And now it's time for the 4th and final side. I thought I would do one side at a time. That way we could get it nice and square without interfering with the other sides that we've already put on there. And then I wanted to use some of those dolphin glass stickers from the Dollar Tree to kind of decorate this and give it more of a beach vibe. And the glass stickers and the burlap, not a great idea, but I kind of show you how I get around that with the kind of Mod Podge that I use. So once I got my 4th side glued on there, I just did one side at a time. That gave me a nice square box for my lantern. And it left an open top and an open bottom. So what I want to do is cover up the bottom. And I do have like a scrap piece of burlap on my workstation. I love that Dollar Tree has burlap now because I'm using it all of the time. So I thought we would just do a burlap bottom. That way it'd be nice and consistent with the sides. It matches perfectly. And that looks pretty good. My piece is kind of cut up and kind of jagged. So what I'm going to do is just cut it a little bit larger than I need it to be. But I also want to give myself enough room to be able to trim that down in the end. So I'm just going to cut down all the sides. And then to attach the bottom on there, I'm just going to hot glue the burlap to the bottom. So just on the sides of my canvases. And I hardly ever craft with Dollar Tree canvases unless I do like a reverse canvas. But I am digging these burlap canvases. They're so fun. Definitely coastal. I did opposite sides first, gluing that down to try to pull that tight against the bottom. And then I can go back and glue the other 2 sides on. Again, trying to pull that tight using my little finger protectors from the Dollar Tree so I don't burn myself. And glue the bottom all the way around. Now I can cut off my excess burlap. I'm just using some sharp scissors, trying to get as close to it as I can get. But if I don't get all of it, it's going to kind of blend in with the canvases anyway, because it's the same material. So I'm just going to trim up all 4 sides, and we're going to have a bottom to this. I'll also want to disguise the top a little bit because I don't want you to be able to really see how we put this together. I want it to look a little bit more finished. So it has a bottom on here as well. You know, you could use whatever you have, but the burlap's a nice touch because it's strong enough and it matches everything really well. Now, these are the glass stickers that they had at the Shore Living line this year at the Dollar Tree in the dolphin print. I thought that would be a nice, fun image to have on my lantern box here. I was trying to decide whether I should do it on the wider side or the skinnier side, and I decided to do it on the wider side. Now, these are super sticky, and I've never really had trouble with them sticking to anything, but they didn't really want to stick to the burlap, which is not too surprising. But I did give it a try first, sticking them on here, and what I realized is it was just going to kind of fall off. And I have a new Mod Podge that I ordered from Amazon the other day. I will have to put that in my Amazon shop if you guys want to check this out. It is called a fabric Mod Podge. And I couldn't find it at any of the stores I shop at, but supposedly you can't attach like napkins to fabric and it'll even be washable. So I can't wait to try that. But I thought it might be a good application to try it on the glass stickers on my burlap. And so that is what I used to attach it down. It already had like a sticker surface on there, but I just kind of added the fabric Mod Podge to the back of it. And it worked. It definitely glued it down. And so that is another fun Mod Podge to try. They have so many different kinds now. I usually use the matte one from the Dollar Tree, but once I saw the napkin technique, I knew I had to try this. I also did another coat on top just to kind of help make sure that that was sealed down on my burlap, and it turned out pretty good. Now, I don't want an image on all 4 sides. I just kind of want an image on the front and the back. That way, if I display this like on the coffee table in my Florida room or wherever, you know, you're going to have a image on each side, but it's not too busy. So here is the opposite side here. And I know it's not going to stick now, so I'm just going to use my fabric Mod Podge, cover the back of my sticker, and also put it down where it is going to be on the burlap. Kind of had to attach it first to see where some of the little dolphins were going to be, and then just Mod Podge that down and smoothing it out. I'm very intrigued by it. I noticed that it's a lot thicker than the Mod Podge that I normally use, but I can't wait to try this on more applications. And so even though the burlap didn't want to cooperate, we still got some cute dolphins on here. And I'm just making sure everything is glued down tight. Now I wanted to kind of disguise the top of it, and I have some of that extra white 6-foot rope from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to glue that on here. It's about the same width almost as the canvas. And what I do is I just take one piece and glue that all the way around all 4 sides, kind of meeting at the corner. Now, when you do that, you can still kind of see the staples from the canvas in there. You can still kind of see how it was constructed in there. And so I do go in and do a second row on the inside of the rope too, slightly more inset. But I think my camera dies here, and so you'll get to see it here in just a second. So that's my first row of rope. And then I go in here with my second row. But again, I think I lost the footage. My camera will record for 30 minutes and then it automatically turns off. It's annoying, I know. So there's my second row, slightly down, but it covers up the lip of the canvas. And then I took some of that rope macrame rope from Dollar Tree, and I am just gluing that in the seam between the two canvases just to finish that up. I thought that would be nice and thin. It's going to match the rope that we put on top, but it's just going to kind of give it more of a finished vibe. And I just do a thin bead of hot glue right there in the seam between the two canvases. And then just for simplicity, I just wrap it around the bottom and then come back and do the other side. And just kind of help to finish it up, make it look more like a finished lantern. So you can't really look at it and obviously tell that I put it together with 4 Dollar Tree burlap canvases, but it turned out really cute. What do you guys think about this? I decided to use an extra bright battery operated candle that I got when we were on spring break on that boat down in the Keys. And it's nice and bright, maybe brighter than the ones from the Dollar Tree, but I think it's going to look really good right inside here. And we have a fun little beach lantern. I've been wanting to make a little beach lantern, and I think it turned out so cute. It's about the same size as a tissue holder. You know what? You might be able to make it into a tissue holder as well, now that I'm looking like that. So I decided to turn off my work lights and kind of test it. And the burlap gives me the exact effect that I was wanting from a lantern. And this is how it turned out, our little dolphin beach lantern. And I love those little glass stickers. I still have some of the designs from the last 2 years, and I love crafting with them. They're so fun. And look at that. I even used it on burlap, and it turned out really well.
Now, I haven't seen any of the glass stickers this year, but you could always stencil paint on that burlap on one of them, or actually all the sides, and it would look really cute too.
Okay, next DIY. I'm going to use one of these plain wood signs from the Dollar Tree. I love these. These things are great. They're a good size and they have a frame and everything. I do want to protect the frame because I'm going to show you guys how to do an easy ocean scene. So all I did was painter's tape off all of that great wood. Now, I wanted to show you guys this because I've done this a lot. I've got a big painting of this in my living room. An ocean scene, an abstract ocean scene is the easiest thing you can do. Don't be scared. You can totally do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of do a stripe with a curvy bottom because it's going to be the beach, right? And this is just Caribbean blue. What I did was I just picked up a couple colors of blue that I had, just an acrylic. I think this one is lake blue. Gonna kind of do the sky in that color and just going from one side to the other. So if you can paint a straight line across, then you can totally do your own ocean scene. So I kind of do that, where a sky would be. Then I take some of that same color, mix it with the first color to create another type of blue. Because when you look out into the ocean, you see all different shades of blue all the way out. They kind of change shades. And then I have a turquoise. So let's mix some turquoise in. We'll have some tropical looking water here. And then I kind of try to blend in between the two different colors. And then going back here with some more of the Caribbean blue here towards the back. Then I can just kind of start mixing and blending these. I was using the sides of my foam brush to kind of blend the different layers together. My camera was not one to keep up with that. And then I also kind of want a very light border between the sky and the ocean, but again, it's abstract, so doesn't have to be perfect. But look at that. We have the ocean water all painted. See how easy that was? Now it's time for the sand. I picked up this color at Target the other day. It's a little darker. It's like a teddy bear color is what it's called. It's a little darker for sand, but I do go ahead and put one coat of that down. And then I was like, this is too dark for sand. So while it's still wet, I'm going to go in and fix that by adding some ivory paint to it. While it's still wet, I thought we could just, blend that together. And it's going to give a variation of tans and make it kind of look cool and distressed. So that's what I did. Just blended some ivory right on top of it and gave that a nice dry. Now for seafoam, I just used ivory and the tip of my foam brush, just kind of pouncing down. and kind of pushing it down, kind of blending it a little bit with a baby wipe as well. The seafoam part can be a little hard, but I don't want it to be real obvious, but I want there to be definitely some seafoam on there. Just a little something in between the blue water and the beach. Now we have the perfect background to make a sign. So I'm just going to pull off my painter's tape. It was Dollar Tree painter's tape, and you know what? It didn't do too bad of a job. I'm also going to remove the hanger on this side just because I want to remove it so I want to make sure that it is going to hang properly, and I thought that might get in the way. Now, y'all, I cut this design out so many times. I was completely out of white vinyl and did not know. So I was like, oh, I'll make a stencil. I was completely out of stencil vinyl too. So I had to go on my own Amazon shop and order supplies, but I was halfway in between this project. And so I decided to use white cardstock on my Cricut to cut this out. But I do have this cut file for y'all and for Cricut, and I will share that in the description below. So you don't have to do it this way with cardstock. Do it with white vinyl. That's what I was planning on doing. The only white vinyl I had was the Dollar Tree white vinyl. And y'all know, not a fan. First of all, it like totally messed up my mat because the back sticks, right? But the first time it came apart before it even came off the Cricut. The second time I tried to weed it and it all fell apart again. The third, I don't know. I was so frustrated. And so cardstock it is. We're going to make it work, huh? I just put down Mod Podge. I am peeling off the cardstock and sticking it to the Mod Podge. So I guess this is an example of what you can do when you're out of a vinyl and you're out of stencil vinyl as well. I can't believe it. Usually I'm better about ordering things when I run out of them, but don't worry, I have got them ordered now, and I always have my favorites in the description below. You can get some big rolls of vinyl on Amazon, and they work so much better than the Dollar Tree vinyl. I like using that for DIYs, but I do not like using it for my Cricut. Now the starfish had way too intricate of a pattern, and this is me trying to pop out all of the holes. I was not a fan, and I don't want you to have to do that when you're weeding your vinyl. So I did change the cut file, and I took out all of those cutouts on the starfish so that you won't have to do that part. But I just keep Mod Podging this all down. Also the eye for calling. And now our great little beach sign says the beach is calling. Just trying to push down all of the cardstock into the Mod Podge. I want to make sure none of it's up because I want it to stay attached and be part of the sign. And you know, I didn't want to use cardstock, but it actually turned out really good in the end because it was kind of matte. And then that kind of reminded me when I was ordering new white vinyl, instead of ordering the glossy white vinyl that I always get, that's in my Amazon shop, they also have a white matte finish. And so that's what I ordered this time. And I also added that to my shop for y'all if you guys want to check that out. So I go over the whole thing with a nice coat of Mod Podge and give it a dry. Isn't it cute? I love the sign. Now I thought we can make the frame look a little bit more like driftwood. It's a little dark for my decor. So I'm going to go back in with that like teddy bear brown color, do a very light distress, leaving the wood that's on there, of course. And then I'm going to add some ivory to that to make a lighter color. And maybe a little Antique Wax by Waverly, because that always gives me the greatest, perfect driftwood color. And then distress lightly. And I'm only doing the front of the frame where it's kind of visible. Then I'm going to go back and kind of blend that a little bit. But this DIY is complete. I think it's really cute, even though my Cricut made me hate it for a minute. It did a good job of cutting out the cardstock, so I'll be appreciative of that. And it's not the Cricut's fault that I forgot to order supplies. But don't use Dollar Tree vinyl. And this is it. The beach is calling. I mean, the beach is always calling, right? And this is how it turned out. As you can see, that Mod Podge gives it kind of like a painting feel. And you get a very slight raised edge for all of the cardstock, which you kind of get the same exact thing with some vinyl. And then I put that little starfish down there at the bottom to be in the sand. And I think it turned out pretty cute.
And you know, the cardstock was probably even cheaper.
Let's remake this fish. So this is a fish. They have this every year at Dollar Tree in the summer section. And it is covered with this bright tinsel. You guys know, can't stand the tinsel, but I love the cage underneath. So I'm just going to go in and take it all off. And we were trying to decide what this fish looked like. I thought it kind of looked like an angelfish, and then my son said, no, I think it's like a reef fish. So he's a scientist. I'm also a scientist, if you didn't know that. And so we had to get technical and find out what kind of fish this was. And we found a really good match. I'll show you here in a little bit because we're going to make this one look like it actually. So I'm going to use Dollar Tree rope again. This is the 6 foot, so it's the wider rope. And I think I needed a total of 4 packages of the Dollar Tree rope to cover this entire fish. So I'm going to start here kind of in the back of its body. And I'm just going to glue the white rope to the plastic frame. Then I'm going to bend it and come back the other way. That way I can get like coverage. It makes it look like it's kind of like wrapped, but without having to waste all of that rope on the back. And the fins would be in the way as well. I couldn't decide between this. The other method would be to start in the center and just do circles around and around and around until you have like the body part covered. But for the particular fish that we're going to do, it has mostly a white body, and it kind of looked like it had stripes like this, right? On the side of it. So I'm kind of simulating those fish stripes here. And whenever there is a cage, I just put a hot dot of hot glue, but sometimes I glue it to the rope next to it, just to keep it a little bit tight like that. And this is how far one package goes. So I'm going to have to cut it off there. That way I can start at the end. But I decided to start at the other end this time. That way I didn't have 2 like raw edges of rope together to make it look a little bit better. And again, if you have trouble making that bend with that big rope, if you just glue it to itself with a dot of hot glue in there, it's going to hold it just fine. So this DIY took a lot of rope, 4 packages, and a lot of hot glue, but it was really fun. I've always wanted to redo one of these fishes from the Dollar Tree, and I think I've had this fish since last year, but they do have them again this year. I just saw them there today, but I never knew what to do with it. So I'm glad that I finally thought of something to do with it. I kind of just wanted that like woven look and make it look way more high end. So we have the body of the fish covered. Now we need to deal with the fins. At first I was going to cover them with burlap. Then I thought, no, I think I want it with rope too. So everything's going to be the same thickness. I think it's going to look better. So I just go around the outside edge, kind of gluing to the little pegs that's sticking out as well, because I don't want them to be seen. Some of them you can kind of still see at the end, but I just trim them off. They're easy to cut off. It's just plastic, right? For this one, I thought it would be easier just to go around the outside like that, hot gluing the rope down, and then I can just keep circling that around in that same shape until we cover up all of the area with rope. Some of those tight corners like that, a little bit difficult with the thicker rope, but we're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna kind of just cut it off and try to fill it completely in using hot glue to kind of put that down in there. Now this little fin here in the front, way smaller, but I'm gonna kind of try to do the same strategy on this one, but this one's not gonna take very much rope. Just one little curly Q, that's gonna fill it up. And I think this looks really cool. I love DIYing anything with Dollar Tree rope. I think it makes it look so coastal and fun. And this fish is going to go out in my Florida room that I worked so hard on today, making sure all of the screens were either replaced or repaired. What a challenge that was. I found that some of them had to be replaced because just with weathering and stuff, we had a lot of weather in Florida. There just wasn't enough fabric left to, put like the screen spline in. Oh, it was so much work. Okay, for the tail, I'm just going to go back and forth like I did with the body. I probably could have continued it, but I didn't know at the time that I was going to do that. And then I'm going to go all the way here to the back of the tail. And then I'm just going to clean up any hot glue. It's going to kind of be a mess on the back, but that's okay. I just peel off any excess hot glue and nobody's going to see it back there anyway. But it's got that great cage that I can use to hang it. Now, there were a few of the little plastic tabs here that you could still kind of see where the rope didn't cover it completely, but that's okay. I'm just going in with some heavy-duty scissors and cutting them off. I even cut off the very tip there because I didn't really want that sticking out. And I hate trimming those things off if I don't have to, but I just trimmed off the ones that are necessary. So there's our little reef fish, and this is what we thought it kind of looked like. This is a chevron butterfly fish from Hawaii, so we're going to give it our best go here. So I'm just going to use some yellow. I chose kind of a softer yellow and some black acrylic. And I want this to be really colorful and fun again because I'm doing this out in my Florida room. I'm kind of trying to do fun, beachy vibes out there. And so I think painting it would be good. Otherwise, just the silhouette of the rope would be kind of cool, but I thought it was a little plain. So let's make this fun. So that butterfly fish had a yellow fin on the top and one of his fins on the bottom were yellow. So I'm just going in with a small brush from the Dollar Tree and I'm just painting that rope. The white rope from the Dollar Tree paints really well. You don't have to use chalk paint or anything. Again, I'm not going to get perfect coverage, but I'm going to do the best I can. I probably didn't need to use that small of a brush, but I was trying not to get it on like the white part of my fish. So you're going to want to be careful. You might want to tape it off if you're going to paint your fish as well. You could paint your fish any colors that you like. You can get fun and do a real fish, like me and my son wanted to do a real fish. Or you can make it your own style of fish, whatever you can imagine, right? And so this was the other fin on that fish that was also yellow. And this is a very nice color of yellow. I like it. It's not too obnoxious. And we're just going to go in and give that a coat of yellow as well. I say that I'm a scientist and that we like to know the fish, but I really am. I went to a medical school. I have my master's degree in embryology, actually. Little fun fact about Julie here at Crafty Beach. And so it also had a little black stripe right here, right where the eye is. And it went all the way down the body of the fish. So I'm trying to simulate that. I wasn't sure how wide to make this stripe, so I was kind of using that original picture as a reference and kind of filling that in, trying to make it look, you know, about an even width. That bottom fin that you see there was not yellow on that fish, so I'm not going to make that yellow. I did get a little bit of paint there, and so I went back with some ivory paint to kind of correct that, but then I changed my mind and wanted my stripe to be black anyway, so I don't know why I did that. But I kept painting it until I thought it looked like it was supposed to. And I think that looks really good. Now, the fish also had a black tail, so we're going to go in here. It had a black tail with a very yellow tip. Now, I didn't think I was going to be able to paint the black tail with the yellow tip next to each other, so I'm just going to add the yellow tip separately. So to get started, I just use black going all over the tail. I'm going to stop when I get to like the body of the fish. Again, kind of using smaller brushes to try to get that on there evenly without getting my white fish all black. Now I cut another piece of rope down to make the yellow stripe, and I think my camera died right about here, but basically I used that same color of yellow and I painted it yellow. Now I'm just going to be able to attach that to the back, and he'll have like the yellow tip on the back. Now for a little eye, I thought a seashell would be perfect. This is one of the ones from the little jars at the Dollar Tree. I'm just turning it upside down to kind of make that cool like concave shape like an eye, right? And I attached that with hot glue right on its black stripe like that fish. It also had a little fin here. So I thought I would just use a little white seashell that I have and kind of glue that on as a really whimsical, fun little fish fin. It kind of looks like a fish fin, but it's also a seashell, so that's always fun. And I think this little guy's coming together. He's definitely more colorful than the other DIYs we did today, but I think he's going to be perfect out in the Florida room. So it's time to attach our yellow stripe here to the back. I just do a bead of hot glue on that last fin, and then I'm gluing my yellow stripe on. Definitely easier than trying to paint them together. Or I guess you could always use a little bit of painter's tape if you need to make yours very colorful right next to each other too. But I think it looks like my inspiration butterfly fish. What do you guys think? Now I'm going to draw a little eye on inside the shell just to kind of make it look more like an eye. And then the fin on the original one had like a little tint of yellow. So I thought we would go in with that same yellow paint and just kind of like paint in the grooves of the shell. I can always wipe off the excess paint on the shell with a baby wipe. Kind of leaving like the yellow in the grooves to kind of give it just a light yellow tint, right? Because we're going for scientifically accurate on this fish. And I'm just going to use the existing cage to hang it. So I'm not going to make a hanger or anything like that. But I think this is a fun remake. Very whimsical. Here is our little Hawaiian chevron butterfly fish, I think it was. I think he's so funny. My son totally got a kick out of this one.
And you could create any fish you want. You could even create your own looking fish. Just use your imagination, but I like to look with the rope.
Okay, next DIY, I'm going to use one of these little photo hangers from the Dollar Tree. These are great. I've used these before to do my little macrame sailboats a couple weeks ago, and I really liked it, so I wanted to try to give it another go. It's got like a total of 7 of these ropes hanging from it, and I wanted to do something really unique like a wall hanging, and I thought I was going to need a total of 6. So I just snipped one of those off, and I want to hang like 3 individual signs from this that all form one picture. So I'm going to need 1 on each side, so that's why I need a total of 6 of them. So the first thing I do is untie all these, and then I'm going to cut them all the same length. So however long the first one was, I'm going to cut them all the same length. Now I'm going to use some Dollar Tree shelves for the signs for this, and the holes on them were a little small for that. So I do end up replacing these, but it was my first intention to go ahead and use these, and you totally could. It was just kind of a little bit harder. These are the wall shelves that I'm going to use. From the Dollar Tree, you get 2 in a package, and so I need a total of 3 of them. As you can see, it does come with like macrame cord, which is smaller than the ones on there, and I end up using that just because it made my life a lot easier. But I love making signs out of these kind of shelf signs. They're so cute. And I thought we could put 3 together and we can make our own like unique like sea creature. I was thinking I wanted like a longer sea creature on there. They were a little rough today, so I did have to give them all a good sanding, kind of cleaning up the holes on them as well to kind of give me a good blank canvas to decoupage a design on. Now I made this design on Canva, and I will share the link with you. You're going to get 3 separate files and you can print them out. These were about 5.5 by 7, I believe. So that is how big I made mine. I had them print out like at 100%. And there's a slight overlap because that measurement's a little bit larger than the sign, and I kind of did that on purpose. And so I just do a nice thin layer of Mod Podge on my first sign. And I decided to go ahead and cut off the bottom. That way I could kind of line them all up with the bottom to the sign, so they'll all be like the same like height up. And this little cute sea creature that you see there is a dugong. It's very similar to a manatee, which you guys know I love manatees, but these are like found more like in Africa and Australia is what my son was telling me. They're super cute. They're very similar to manatees, but they have different tails. I noticed they were a little bit skinnier too, but I wanted a fun sea creature that I didn't have anything to do with any of the other DIYs I've ever made, and so this guy's definitely unique. Once I got it Mod Podged on there, I'm just going to use a Dollar Tree sanding block and just sand the paper off. It's going to give me a perfect cut. As you can see, I designed it a little bit larger than my sign. That way I could go all the way to the edge and I wouldn't have to worry about lining it up or having like any white lines on the sides. And so I'd already cut the bottom, so I just need to do the sanding for the other 3 sides. And that is the head of our little dugong. I'm going to further seal it on there with another coat of Mod Podge. My first coat had dried underneath, and this is just going to help seal it and make it more durable. So we're going to do the same thing here on my second one. I will go ahead and like put these all in my Google Drive. It'll be like a 1, 2, 3, since there's 3 different files. And I am just going to Mod Podge this on. I try not to do too thick of a coat of Mod Podge when I'm using just regular printer paper like this, because I don't want any wrinkling if I can not get any. And I'm lining this one up with the bottom, making sure that my other sides all kind of overlap slightly. And I can kind of feel that out by kind of creasing the corners to make sure it's where it's supposed to be. If you act quickly, you can get rid of wrinkles like that, but not for too long. I'm using a scraper on mine, but be very careful when you use a scraper because you can definitely rip that while it's wet. So I gave it a dry with my dryer, and then I'm just sanding off the sides on this too. My son is obsessed with this one. He thinks it's so cute. And I'm like, are you taking it to college with you or what? Is this going to be in your dorm? So he might steal this one. And so I cut it all off, go over it with another coat of Mod Podge to seal the deal. And it's lining up perfectly. I had a slight overlap on the images, so even when I cut off the sides slightly, it's still going to kind of match up. So I cut off the bottom of piece number 3, and we're going to Mod Podge this one on as well. Trying to thin out my Mod Podge on that one. I went a little crazy with that one. Line this up by the bottom, make sure all the sides are lined up, and then smooth this one out and do the same thing. If you do get bubbles in there, don't worry. They will usually come out in a day or 2, and you'll never even know they were there. As long as you can get pretty smooth, you're going to be good to go. So that is my 3 signs. I'm going to seal this last one. And then we can start putting this DIY together. Now, this was a shelf, and so there were like 4 holes in it. And so I'm going to kind of pop those back in there. I can kind of see some of them. Some of them I kind of had to feel around, but I'm just using a Cricut weeder. And basically I'm just cutting through my paper and kind of going around in a circular fashion, trying to like open up the circles on those. Since the holes are there, I want to try to fill all of those up. And I have 2 strings for each one, so I'll have plenty of rope to pull through those. I'm just going to pull the rope through the back and knot it on the front to give a really fun coastal, one-of-a-kind sign. I've made a lot of whale DIYs and I've made a lot of shark DIYs, so I kind of wanted something longer that was a different sea creature, and I'm so glad I chose this one. It's so cute. And as you can see, the tail is completely different than the manatee tail, so that's cool. Now I got it all sealed. I got my holes cut. I'm going to give it a slight distress with a chunky brush and some ivory paint, all working in one direction. I kind of distressed a little heavier than I wanted, And so no big deal. I just go back with a baby wipe and a little bit of elbow grease and kind of soften that a little bit because I wanted a little coastal farmhouse distress, but I didn't want it to look crazy. I still wanted you to be able to see the image. So I cleaned mine up a little bit and I just like the feel. You totally don't have to do that stuff if you don't want to. So this is my hanger from the Dollar Tree, and this is kind of how I had lined it up. I knew it was going to be kind of hard to get the rope through the hole, so the first thing I did was just hot glue all the tips to make them, nice and sturdy. Once that gets on there, you can kind of mold the hot glue into kind of like a little needle that you can just feed through there. And I did get this sign, the first sign, knotted on there with all 4 strings, using one for the top, one for the bottom on each string, as you can see right there. And then on the second one, I was like, this is taking forever. I have these strings that came with the shelves, and they're perfect because that's what's meant to go with the shelves. And so I decided just to cut these strings down to the same length as the macrame cord that was already on there. And I just cut down 6 of these, and it made my life so much easier. So you might want to switch out the rope if you're going to use the same kind of thing. If you can't find this thing, this little hanger, the photo hanger, this would be really cute too, with like a piece of driftwood at the top. I thought about doing that. Okay, so I'm using I left one on there for reference, so I know exactly how they had theirs tied off. And they had theirs tied off like this, just a simple loop and pull it through, trying to keep the length the same on each individual string. And then I'm just going to go in and do that for all 6 of them. Kind of do them now so I can get them all going the same direction. And I'm so glad I decided to switch these out. I am going to leave the rope that's on there for the hanger. And I'm going to need that entire pole because we have all 3 of these signs to hang, and it's going to take up the entire width of this for sure. Now, again, like I did before, I put hot glue on the tips, kind of molded them together, and it was so much easier to feed these through. So I do 1 from each string bundle, 1 on the left, 1 on the right, tie them off, and then I go back with the other one, the other rope, and put it through the top for that side. As you can see, they're not all equally cut out, so sometimes they can still be a little bit more difficult, but I went ahead and got all 4 on there, and now we can start working with the middle piece. Now, you're not going to want to tie your knots too tight because you might need to raise or lower it a little bit to get all these signs to hang even. I did do a little adjusting on mine at the end by adjusting kind of how tight I had some of these knots tied, but I was trying to kind of lay them out, trying to get it as even as possible from this angle before I tied these off. And then you can kind of see if it's going to hang right. So this one looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and snip off my extra rope. And as you can see, I'm going to need that entire dowel up there. So going to have to kind of push them over a little bit so we can fit the rest of this, the third and final sign. And again, I just hot glue the ends. I use 1 from each side to go in the bottom holes, and then the other one goes in the top holes. That way it fills all the holes up on it. I would rather do that, and it kind of makes sense with the way that these are tied off on the thing. If you do have trouble getting your rope to go through there, sometimes you can help it along with a pair of pliers or something like that, or the cricket weeder to help feed it through. So we're going to tie off the bottom and then do the same thing here on the top. And you probably could have done it with the macrame cord that was on there, but as you can see, even with the thinner rope, it can be a little bit of a struggle. So make your life easier and just use a skinnier one. So that is our third piece. And I want them to all hang level. I want them to all have kind of equal spacing in between. So once I get these hung on there, I do kind of hang them and kind of see if I need to adjust them or not. You can kind of figure out if you need to adjust them if they're going to hang evenly or not, and then cut off my excess rope. They are so cute. I think I've got them lined up nicely. I was a little afraid that the hanger might fall off the sides because it was all the way at the end. So I decided to secure that with a little dot of hot glue on each side just to make sure that everything stays in place. And that's the final step of our little hanging dugong sign. It's definitely one of a kind and very unique. And I think this was a dugong like in an actual aquarium. I think that's why it's such a good picture, but I think it turned out really fun. And this is how it looks hanging in my entryway. I like the distressing of it. Kind of takes away a little bit of the photography element of it. And they are all hanging very nicely. And this is how it looks from a distance.
And you could get really creative with that. You could do a whale, a dolphin, whatever. Now, have you visited my new website yet? It's craftybeach.net. I just launched it this spring, and so right now I have like Easter, spring, coastal beach stuff on here. And basically I'm going to do a blog post for every one of my videos. If you visit the blog post, you'll be able to see a photo of all the projects that you can then pin on Pinterest so you can remember to make them. There's also the linked YouTube video for directions on how I made it. And I'm going to organize it by season to make it easy to navigate. And I also have like things like my Amazon shop on there for items I recommend in my videos. And I even have a link to my fun Etsy shop if you want to get some of those fun crafting memes that I share all the time, and some other fun printables on there as well. So be sure to check out the website. It's brand new and I'm trying to get it to take off a little bit. It's craftybeach.net. Okay, back to the DIYs.
I'm going to use one of these relax shell signs from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. You could always use the raw wood one too. It would be a little bit smaller though. And I can't even begin to get that metal relax off the back. So this is going to be a two-sided sign. We're going to leave that back there. Now I want this to be an ivory sign, and we're going over that brown backer board that's on the sign. And I'm only using ivory acrylic. So it's going to take 2 or 3 coats, I think 3, to cover that up. But if you're using like an ivory chalk paint, it might only take you 1. And you don't have to have a shell for this DIY. Any kind of Dollar Tree sign would work. But since I had a shell, I thought that would be fun if it was shaped like a shell. But we're going to do a fun, like, little beach van sign. I had this fun idea, and I'm going to share the printable file for you so that you can recreate this at home. Okay, I finally got it looking pretty good with 3 coats of ivory on there. Now I'm going to drag Antique Wax by Waverly and kind of draw that shape of a shell back on, working all of my lines straight into the middle, and then going back and kind of blending it all together with a baby wipe. I kind of want this to look like a realistic, like white, tan, brown, just simple seashell from the beach. I go back with ivory and do the lines again, just because I didn't want it to be a brown shell. I wanted to brighten it up a little bit, but still leaving all of the, like, you know, the different colors that you would see in the grooves of a shell. And I think it totally kind of gives you that effect. I kind of go back and forth between the Antique Wax by Waverly and the ivory. And you can always do that with the distressing. If you find that you went too hard on the distressing, you can always go back with the original color and add some of that. Now here is the adorable little beach bus watercolor that I'll share with you in the description below. I printed mine out on cardstock. That way you wouldn't be able to see any kind of images under it. And we're just going to go in with scissors and cut it. I decided to cut off that cute little beach rack on the top just because it had a white background, and I thought that might make it not blend in with the sign as well, but it's totally up to you what you want to do. And then I go around the bottom, cut this out. And then on the surfboards, there is like a little fin sticking out of one of the surfboards just to make it easier to attach. I just went ahead and trimmed that off too. I didn't think it was completely necessary for the image. And now we have our little beach van with surfboards. There's a couple of people in town that have one of these like classic Volkswagen beach buses in that blue color, and I'm always drooling over them because I think that'd be such a fun vehicle to have. Not practical at all. No, but fun, right? So we're going to Mod Podge this on, but I wasn't too happy with the white in that and the fact that I had no white on my shell. So I do go back in with just some straight white acrylic and bring a distressed shell, kind of making those ivory lines in the shell more white. That way the background and the van will kind of match a little bit, if you know what I mean. I wanted to bring out that white. And I had no white in the original sign. I think that looks better. Now for the words on the bottom, I'm just going to use one of these Target paint pens and try to do like that Ray Dunn skinny font. It's a pretty easy font to do. I start in the middle so I can make sure that it is centered and just do my Ray Dunn, the skinny font. If you study it, it's pretty easy to do. It's easier than breaking out your Cricut. And I'm going to have this sign say beach bound. And then I'm going to kind of go over it again. And I have like this great like turquoise color. I think this is going to match well with the fun image that we have on there. So that's what I was saying. You don't have to do this DIY on a shell. This would be really cute on a circle shape or like a square or rectangle shape from the Dollar Tree as well. Quick and easy. Print this out on your printer on some cardstock. Cut it out and you are ready to go. And you can always use your Cricut if you don't want to do your own lettering. But with Coastal Farmhouse, you always want to distress it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And mine is definitely not perfect. But then I go over it with a little ivory distress and you'll never know, right? Just a very light dry brush all over that just to kind of cure any imperfections. But I don't want to kind of dull that blue too much. Now it's time to add our little beach van on here, a little beach bus. So I do a layer of Mod Podge, thick enough to hold down that cardstock, and then just press our image onto our little shell sign. Making sure that my fingers are dry. I'm trying to keep that flattened. And I really like to Mod Podge cardstock. I always pick up like the plain white cardstock at Target. It's great for crafting with. You don't have to worry about it tearing. You don't have to worry about like the images showing through when you Mod Podge with it. And now I'm going to go over the entire sign with Mod Podge because I want it all to be the same finish, the same matte finish. And I always use that matte Mod Podge from the Dollar Tree. I kind of wanted to make sure I didn't have any pools of Mod Podge, and then I let that dry. And now it's time just to make a hanger for this sign. I use a little bit of that Dollar Tree twine coming in from the back, knotting it in the front. And I'm also going to frame this out. You could kind of leave this as is, but I thought some of that like thinner brown Dollar Tree rope would make a great border and frame for this and really kind of tie it all together. And I had a scrap piece of this rope sitting right here, so why not, right? And so we're just going to hot glue this. I'm going to start down here just on the corner. I love that hot glue gun. I always have that listed in my shop below. The only thing I don't love about it is that it does give you a lot of hot glue, and I didn't really have my fine tip hot glue gun like heated up and ready to go. So I'm trying to be really careful by only doing a little bit of hot glue and working one section at a time, because I don't want it to dry before I get it all on there. And the shell has this like undulated, design all the way around. And I really want the rope to kind of go in each one of those little grooves. So I kind of take my time when going around that, pushing that into the groove so that I'll still kind of have like a curvy outline on the shell. And I'm really glad that I decided to add the rope to it because I think it really did bring a lot to this DIY. This DIY is so fun. I think I might add this to my Florida room just because it totally has that Florida room vibe that I've been looking for. And don't forget, I'm going to show you my Florida room here in just a little bit. A lot of fun DIYs out there. My husband and I have put together kind of a DIY Florida room because we didn't have a lot of money to buy stuff. So I'll show you how we created a wonderful Florida room anyway. So almost done. Just got to finish off the bottom here. The corner of the shell is going to be a perfect place for the transition between the two pieces of rope. Just kind of have to trim that down to size. And I always like to trim that as good as I can. Add some hot glue. Kind of let that cool off a little bit. And then when you go back, you can kind of mold that together and make it look a little tidier. Now, what do you guys think about this sign? I had a vision of this sign in my head, and I think it turned out really cute. I do go around the back, add some more hot glue just to make sure that my rope stays on there, since I might use this one outdoors. And my Florida room is mostly covered. Sometimes it rains sideways in Florida, you know, but I think it might hold up out there. And this is how it turned out, our little beach-bound bus. I think it's really creative and fun. And how cute is that image? I love it. And I need one of those little beach buses. I saw a really long one the other day. I didn't even know they made those.
I think I might need one of those for real though. Okay, up next, I'm going to show you another wood slice. It's a different one. I'm going to do it on one of the shore living fish. I did get this one last year at Dollar Tree. I haven't seen them this year, but it's another fun way that you can use these wood slices.
I haven't used this shape. This is kind of like a wedge shape, but I thought it kind of looked like a fish scale, right? So that's what we're going to kind of go with. I want this to look like a driftwood fish. And I'm just going to use these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree to cover them. Now, trying to figure out how to get them all to fit was a little challenging. It's like a puzzle, but like 3 arch down, 3 arch down, and then like kind of 3 triangular shaped at the top. Then I can put 2 on the sides, and I actually had some broken pieces in mind, which was awesome because then I can use it to kind of fill up some of the gaps. But I guess if you didn't have any broken pieces, you could always cut these down if you needed to. I want to cover as much of the fish as possible to make it look like an old driftwood fish. So I think that looks good. And now, easy peasy, all you have to do is hot glue all of the wood slices down. The other new wood slices they have are like the long sticks. I've used those to make several DIYs. I made a really cute crab DIY out of those. You guys will have to check that out if you haven't seen it. And oh, they also have the round circular wood slices, and I used those to make a driftwood sea turtle. So I think these are really fun to craft with, and I hope Dollar Tree keeps bringing us these like raw craft materials like this because it is so fun and thrifty. So I glued them all on. It still stands up. Bonus, because that's what I wanted it to do. Just going to clean up any strings of hot glue, and then we're going to try to make it look like driftwood. I mean, you can leave it the wood that it is now because there is wood behind it, but I thought we could make it look old and weathered, kind of like driftwood. So first I mix ivory and antique wax together. Using a chunky brush, I just kind of blob it all over, just pushing down, and then going over that with a baby wipe. Kind of pushing it down first and then kind of going back and kind of blending it around. And I also distress like any of the sign that's visible in the background too. Now I'm going to add more antique wax to this to get a darker color. And I'm going to go in and do the same thing just by kind of pouncing that all over. Going back, first I pounce it kind of with my baby wipe to kind of, I don't want to wipe it all off, right? And then I go back and kind of try to blend it together. Now for the last step, I'm just going to use the plain antique wax by Waverly and do the same thing to bring in some of the dark colors. And it may seem to be extra to be doing this, but I do think it really added a lot of details to this and kind of made it look more like driftwood. And I'll kind of show you the comparison before and after the distress, so you can decide if you want to do that on one of yours. And you can always do this on the white fish as well, but you're probably going to have to paint the fish before you add your wood slices to it. So this is what it looks like with the weathering. And this is how it looked before. So it did definitely make a difference, and I'm glad that I decided to distress it. So here is our little driftwood fish. I think it turned out really cute. Limitless places I can display this in my house. I think it looks super cute. And I did leave the rope on there because why not? I kind of had room for it.
So if you have one of the fish left over from the last couple of years at Dollar Tree, or if you can find a fish of any kind, cover it with some of these wood slices. It looks really cute, and I'm actually still displaying this today.
Okay, next DIY is going to be really easy. I'm going to take one of these little relax words from the Dollar Tree. This is the one that's like the white wood painted, and I thought we would make this into a little sign. Again, we're going to use some craft wood from the Dollar Tree. This is kind of like the chunky slats, and I thought we would make a little chunky sign by putting several of these together to make a little sign for the back of the relax, just to kind of make it more of a substantial piece. If you guys have seen any of the Shore Living items, I noticed I actually bought the rope ones that spell out the word beach. They also have it spell out relax again this year. And it's really cute. I got the beach ones. That was my favorite. But I'm just going to glue the 3 chunky slats side by side. It's going to give me the perfect size frame. Then I thought I would just cover it with burlap. That's going to look fun and beachy. I'm going to use one of those 6-inch burlap rolls from Walmart. But you know, they also have burlap rolls from the Dollar Tree now as well. And I just kind of want it to look like it's completely covered in burlap. So I am going to cut off like the little finished edge and cut it down to size for my new little sign. And you could do this with a Dollar Tree sign. I thought just creating my own. I'm going to have a blank canvas, and I love working with that Dollar Tree craft wood. So there's our piece of burlap. I thought that was going to be just a really fun beachy background for this relax sign. This DIY is going to be super easy to put together. So to glue it on, we're just going to use Mod Podge. Try not to get it everywhere, but I want like a fairly thick layer of that since we are gluing down fabric. And you know, the burlap has all the holes in there, so it's going to kind of seep through the holes nicely, and that's going to help glue it down too. Just kind of spreading that all out, and I think that's the perfect little beachy background. We're going to give that a quick dry, and we can start putting this little sign together. Our little relax, see how it fits on there just perfectly. And the 2 signs together are both kind of chunky, so definitely gives me a nice chunky sign in the end. And we're just going to do hot glue kind of all over to make sure it's good and secure to our side. So you see these, you kind of think they are a standalone sign, but you can definitely build them out like this and make them really cute and more substantial. And we're just going to leave that craft wood, the natural wood. It definitely goes with the coastal farmhouse vibe. And I really like the contrast of the white letters there against the burlap. Relax, you're at the beach, right?
And it's a state of mind. You don't really have to live anywhere near the beach to do this fun coastal decor in your house for the summer, or if you're like me, all year long. I love it. And just a fun, easy sign DIY. Now I'm going to include the next thing. It is a Florida room reveal because some of you guys did not catch my Florida room last year and you were asking to see it again. So you know what? I thought I would go ahead and include it in today's video. The only thing that's changed is I've added more wind chimes with my wind chime video this year, but it's my happy place. Enjoy.
So let's take a tour of my Florida room. I'm going to give you a quick tour here first, and then I will go in and kind of describe some of my pieces. So this is one side of my Florida room. I use this side for dining, of course. And I have a story behind that table and chairs. You'll recognize these DIYs as I've just done them recently in YouTube videos. Oh, can't wait to tell you about that fantastic light fixture. And that whale was not a DIY. I actually got that at, I think, TJ Maxx or Marshall's. Those are all of the wind chimes that we created. Now, this side of my Florida room has my favorite, my son's favorite too, the hot tub with a television, of course, which you need in Florida. This is my favorite room of my house. My husband built this great sectional and this great table for our Florida room. And he used plans to make that furniture from, I think, Anna White. She does some great DIYs to make your own furniture, but this is kind of what it looks like from over here. It is a large Florida room. Now, the table was actually a used table that we bought off Craigslist when we first moved to Florida. It wouldn't fit in our new house, so what I did was painted it ivory. I used like a countertop surface to cover the top to make it durable to be outside, and then I reupholstered all of the chairs with like a turquoise vinyl that I got on Amazon, which after all these years has held up well. Some of the seats, depending on where the seats are stored, have cracked a little bit. So I might have to kind of, reupholster some of the seats maybe, but they've held up pretty good. For the table, I just have Shore Living placemats. I couldn't get 6 of them all the same, so I kind of varied 2 different ones on the end to finish that out. You'll recognize a lot of DIYs out here, including these are all DIYs that I've done recently on my channel. If you've missed any of these lovely DIYs, you'll have to go back and see if you can find them. I think they're so fun. I had to screw these into my walls because hurricane season, don't want them blown away, and I don't want them falling off every time we have a storm. Now, the hot tub is just a Coleman inflatable hot tub that we got on Amazon. They're very inexpensive and we love it. 104 degrees. It's perfect in the night. Just had to replace that television set because I did not have a surge protector on it and we had a bad storm recently. Here is some more DIYs and our TV. I don't know if we really get a good view of it, but we also have a pull down movie screen up there on the top there. You can kind of see it, that we can pull down and project movies and kind of have like a movie theater experience outside. Now, this is the couch, the sectional couch that my husband built just out of lumber. I painted it ivory. We found these cushions on Facebook Marketplace for like $20 for all these cushions. Somebody was getting new cushions for their couch and just sold them on Marketplace. You could never know what you're going to find on Facebook Marketplace. The like palm leaf covers for all the cushions, I got those on Amazon. I'll be sure to link those in my Amazon shop below. My husband also built me this table. I don't know if he had any plans for this, but basically he made like the little insets there for me to put my beautiful seashell collection from trolling the beaches. I got a lot of my starfish over in Sanibel, but I got really some cool stuff in here. And what he did was just have like a piece of plexiglass cut down for the top. It's held up really well. It has like 4 legs on it, and it makes a really good coffee table because it's also decorative. And I'm a big fan of these cushion covers. These are new. I've added these to my cushions, and I love the tropical feel. So this is kind of how my Florida room looks from this side. Half of it's dining, half of it's like living. Definitely my favorite place to be in our whole home. I absolutely love it. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to live in this house. And you'll recognize some of these wind chimes. I guess all but one. One of those is look, some lizards make some appearance. I swear these little lizards think that this is their room and that I made this all for them. But one of those wind chimes is from a good friend, Lorraine, but I DIY'd all the other ones because she has way more wind chimes than me and I was jealous. Now, this beautiful driftwood light fixture, one of a kind, my darling husband found this driftwood on the beach and lugged this enormous piece of driftwood home with the idea that he would make me a light fixture. He is an electrician, and so he wired all of this. Got these, I think they're called Edison bulb lights, strung that through the driftwood and hooked them up to a dimmer light and everything. We already have ceiling fans out there, but this lighting fixture just goes above the dining table and I love it. Now, the rug I got at Ross, Dress for Less, I got 2 of them. One goes under my table, one in my living room. I also got a smaller one for the doorway. They are a great place to get cheap rugs that hold up well outdoors. The whale, I love it. I can't claim that I designed that because I totally bought that one. But I think Marshall's is where I found that guy, and he's just the right size for that giant table. It fits all of our guests when we're outside. Oh, the curtains. I forgot to talk about the curtains. I bought these on Amazon. I got enough for kind of every wall of the room. And then we just took cheap metal piping from the hardware store and hooks for curtain rods from Amazon as well. And we went all the way around the entire Florida room with those so that we could hang curtains. And it provides privacy, and I think they're really fun too. So I hope you guys enjoyed your tour of my Florida room. Thanks for coming over to visit. Okay, it is now time for the final reveal for all of the crafts that we made today.
And I hope you enjoyed the little tour in my Florida room again. It's the final reveal for all 15 of the DIYs. In the comments below, please let me know which one was your favorite, or just come say hello. I love reading all of your comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. We're growing here on YouTube. Enjoy!
I get a little bit breathless, my thoughts are too big. Can I get some comfort, please? I guess I should have been honest. It breaks in my heart, it's weighing me down, baby. I'm like a river that's overflowed. The sooner you know it, the less do we hurt. Let me speak the truth. I know you don't want to face it. You think it's too late, but I can see past the rain. Won't you lay it on me? Turn the page and burn it. Let's make up a big bonfire on the beach with the stars as our lighters, and throw our problems in the flame. Throw our problems in the flame. We fell down to the bottom, so bottom up please. We're gonna get over this. I see the smoke in the mirrors, I'm holding the key, one step away from salvation. You're like the ocean, setting me free. Out in the open, I'm picking up speed. No bad thoughts penetrate. Hold me like this is the first time. Our destiny calls, not leaving this incomplete. Won't you lay it on me? turn the page and burn it. Let's make up a big bonfire on the beach with the stars as our lighters, and throw our problems in the flame. Throw our problems in the flame. And throw our problems in the flames. Ooh, throw our problems in the flames. I get a little bit breathless. My thoughts are too big. Can I get some comfort, please? For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I know it was a long one. I tried to include as many of these DIYs for you so you can get as many ideas as possible. I also want to give a huge thank you to my crafty beach bums. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Warner, Julie Miller, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Debbie DeLay, and Ariana's mama. Thank you so much for supporting my channel here on YouTube. I really appreciate you. And if you'd like to become a member, all you have to do is hit the join button under today's video. It's $4.99 a month. You can cancel anytime, and you're just going to get early ad-free access to my videos here on YouTube. Now, do you want some more beach DIY inspiration? I have another video for you right here. Until next time, happy crafting.